1, 2, 3, 4.
Welcome into another episode of the Talkin G-MAC podcast. I'm your host, Katie Gilhooly, and this week we have a championship podcast for you all as we wrapped up our men's and women's basketball championships last week. And we're happy to welcome Kobe Mitchell from Walsh on the podcast this week. Kobe, congratulations on Walsh's men's basketball tournament championship over the weekend in North Canton.
Thank you. Yeah, like you said, we just won it in a very exciting time here at Walsh, and thanks for having me on today too.
Awesome. Well, you all started the weekend basically with your regular season championship and getting the opportunity to host the semifinals and the finals of the GMAC tournament. When you think about this regular season as a whole, 27-3, 17-3 in conference play, can you talk about that journey and just the ability to win as many games as you all were able to do, and how that kind of propelled you all into the tournament this past weekend?
Yeah, so I think being able to win like you said 27 games this year. I think back to like last year when we didn't have such a great season and all the troubles we had just to get through that season. So we were able to keep that core of guys and come back even stronger this year. And I think it just made us strong as a team. And the bad times during this season, we were able just to come together and get through those and just compete and play hard each and every night, which led to a lot of wins. And we just really played for each other. We were a tight group, and we all had the same goal in mind, which made it easier to win. And then just being able to go on the road and win a lot of games helps as well, especially when you're trying to win a regular season championship. So I think just the group of guys and how tight we were, that was the big thing going into the season.
You talked there a little bit about the core group of guys that you were able to bring back. You all, several of you have played together for a little bit. How important is it to be able to build those relationships and keep some of that team together in an era of college athletics where people are moving and shaking all the time and the transfer portal is a real thing? How beneficial is that to be on the court with guys that you're familiar with, that have experienced a season like last year, which wasn't up to Walsh men's basketball standards? How do you build upon maybe what didn't happen last year into what has transpired this year?
Yeah, having guys stay in this era, like you said, is difficult. And like right around now is when you start hearing if guys are leaving or if guys are staying. So well, last year when we heard everyone was staying and going to run it back, I instantly thought about to now, like where we could be. And if we do all the right things in the summer and work hard, obviously we can do special things like we did. But I think having core guys stay, like you said, it builds like trust on the court. Like I know where certain guys are going to be. I know like where a certain pass needs to be, where my points are going to come from, where his points are going to come from. So just being able to keep guys on the same team for multiple years is a big advantage, especially late in March.
You all started the season pretty well. It didn't get that first loss until December 6th when you dropped one to Ohio Dominican. Can you walk me through of the first loss of the season like that, when you've had a first month or so that was as successful as you all were able to have, and knowing that first loss was a conference loss, and that those implications sometimes determine what happens with the regular season championship and tiebreakers and things like that? How do you feel like your team responded to that adversity?
Yeah, I think we responded well. I don't think we go on to win as many games as we did if we don't lose that game, to be honest. I think that was a wake-up call that we needed. We just won a game at Lake Erie, which is a hard place to win, and came back and kind of just was flat throughout the game against Ohio Dominican. So I think that was just a wake-up call and got the guys going. And kind of a blessing in disguise if you want to look at it that way. But I think it really got us going and we made us lock in and made us realize that every game in the regular season is important, especially when it comes down to late with the standings and trying to get a home game and host a tournament. So yeah, I think it helped us more than it hurt us, obviously. And looking back, probably grateful that it happened and we learned from it and we were able to build on it.
Your last loss of the season came at Lake Erie, who you got a rematch with in the GMAC championship. When you have to play teams as many times as you sometimes have to in conference play, and then you see them again in the tournament, how does game planning and preparation for a game like in the GMAC championship when there's probably not a lot of surprises coming from either team because you all have played each other so often. How do you handle those scouts, and what was kind of the mentality going into Saturday's championship, knowing the last time you guys saw the Storm, it didn't quite go your way?
Yeah, I mean, like you said before, just seeing them 2 times before that, splitting with them, like, we know all their guys, we know what they do, similar play style to us. We know they're gonna play hard and, physical for 40 minutes, so it was all about just being a tougher team. That on Saturday for the championship, we were able to watch them the night before after our game, which helps. Um, but like you said, it was just coming down to doing what we do for 40 minutes and, being a tougher team. We knew that they were gonna play hard and, come at us. We just gotta, we're at home too, so that was to our advantage as well. So just had to make sure we come out to a good start, play really hard, and execute.
You saw Finley in the semifinals, a close game for most of the way. What can those semifinal and quarterfinal games, when the calendar kind of turns to the postseason and the regular season has been wrapped up, you know that you have the opportunity to host, and things maybe get turned up a notch because you want the ability to keep playing basketball as long as possible. What does some of those maybe closer games in a tournament type setting, how do they prepare you for what's to come with Walsh basketball, whether it be in the rest of the GMAC tournament or in the Midwest Regional?
No, they're everything. They mean so much because you really find out what your team is made of in those tight times and close games and how certain people are going to react or how like your teammates are going to react to a bad foul call or the team going on a run. So I think it builds a lot of team chemistry. Um, we've seen Finley early in the season, so when we seen him in the semifinal, it was a long period of time. So it was a little bit different at first, but I think we were able to lock in and really do what we had to do, especially semifinal. But tournament time is really the hardest game sometimes is the first and second one, just because it's a tournament, it's a new setting, new environment, has a different feel to it. So those are sometimes the hardest ones to win.
Well, there was no surprise come yesterday or come Sunday night, that you all were going to find yourself in the Midwest Regional. Maybe a little bit of a surprise to you all that because of the way that things were with the regional rankings going into the tournament, that you all found yourself as the number one seed and the host of the Midwest Regional. Walk us through Sunday and what it was like getting the news that you guys were going to be extending your season and you were going to be able to do it at home.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. After the game Saturday, we like you said, we knew we were going to be in, but just didn't know where at quite yet. But as Sunday went on, like we started seeing other games and looking at the standings, and we knew that we had a good shot of being the one seed. Just didn't know for sure. So whenever they finally posted on Twitter and we seen it, we were all relieved and ready to go. But it's obviously I'm excited for the opportunity, and I'm happy for the guys as well because we worked so hard all year to get to this point. So now we got to go out and do it.
You mentioned what an advantage it was to be able to host the GMAC tournament. A couple more teams will be traveling to Walsh, and to North Canton for this Midwest Regional, as there'll be 8 teams. How how much benefit is there to hosting the Midwest Regional tournament? Things are going to look a little bit different, obviously, than the GMAC tournament, but what kind of advantage is it to be in familiar territory when there's so much on the line? It's win or go home now.
Yeah, I think it's I think it's a big advantage just from like little things, even the big things like getting no travel. Obviously, don't have to sit on a big bus for a while. Don't have to fly on a plane to get here, or go somewhere else. So, and ultimately, just sleeping in your bed every night. That's probably the best part. Staying in a hotel sometimes isn't the best, but those things tie into it, and then also just playing in your gym, just being comfortable with the hoops, the basketball, just the environment around you, seeing certain people that are at every game, having that fan support show up. So I'm sure that we'll have a bunch of students there as well. So that will help out in our advantage as well. So those things I think tie into winning games and home court advantage.
Well, you guys will be matched up against William Jewell in the first round on Saturday at 5 o'clock. What do you know about William Jewell? And I know it's early, so I don't know how much film you've seen, but what do you feel like is going to be the key to getting a W and moving on after Saturday?
I just know that they're a good team, obviously. Play hard, got some good size on their team. We haven't watched much film yet. We'll do that today, but we'll be ready for that. And I think they won their conference tournament as the 2 seed, right? If I'm not mistaken.
Yes, you're
But
correct.
uh, yeah, so they're coming off a championship as well. They're ready, hungry as the 8 seed to prove a point. So just got to make sure we match their energy and do what we can this week to get ready.
Well, Kobe, we certainly appreciate your time today. Best of luck this week. We'll be cheering on all the GMAC teams as there'll be two familiar foes in the building with you all in Lake Erie and Ashland, who also earned a spot in the Midwest Regional as well. So hoping for lots of GMAC basketball this weekend. Congratulations once again on your regular season and tournament titles.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Welcome to the Great Midwest Athletic Conference, where greatness is achieved from heart-stopping moments to incredible teamwork and unyielding determination. This is more than a conference. It's a community of excellence where academic success meets athletic prowess and future leaders are forged. The Great Midwest Athletic Conference. Building character through competition.
Welcome back to another episode of the Talkin G-MAC podcast. Excited to have on Maeve St. John from Northwood University women's basketball team, our newly crowned GMAC tournament champions. Maeve, thanks so much for taking some time to chat with us, and congratulations on Northwood's first ever women's basketball tournament championship.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
Well, excited to talk a little bit about basketball. I know it's another exciting and historic week for you guys, as you have already made the trip a little bit north to Grand Valley for the Midwest Regional. But let's go back to last week and really back to the regular season, and what a historic year for Northwood in the women's basketball space, and for yourself individually as well. Can you walk us through, what it was like to win the regular season, to know that you were going to have the opportunity to host the GMAC tournament, something that you guys had not yet done in school history, and just what it's been like on campus with the success that the women's team has seen thus far this year?
Definitely. Honestly, since I've been here, we've always had like that goal and that standard of trying to host and trying to win the regular season. But thankfully, we have great support throughout our student section. I think consistently we have one of the best student sections in the GMAC, and honestly across the state. We always have a ton of people show up. Our whole football team goes, and it's really a good community, and they help lift us through that. So getting home court advantage is definitely a special opportunity. But I mean, we work hard every single day. There's been many teams before us that have laid the foundation and allowed us to continue to build that. And we're just trying to continue to raise the standard each and every single year. And we've had awesome teams before this year's team be able to set that standard. And then this year's team is just so special. We're an unselfish group and we have each other's back. So
Well, when you look back at the regular season, some question marks coming in as to what this would look like in the GMAC, and you guys set yourself apart pretty early on with your conference record and what you guys were able to do. At what point in the season did you think, wait, this may be a special year for us? Like, walk us through the inside of what was going on in the locker room and the talks that you all were having. I know it's a goal, and I know it's been something you guys have been talking about for several years, but at what point in this season did you feel like this might be something special?
I think for us, it honestly even started last season because we returned so many people. We obviously lost 3 seniors, but we returned a large group and we had almost everybody back at our postseason, which I've been here years past where like one people transfer, a lot more people graduate. So we were able to keep a lot of the people on our team and just continue to build that relationship and those foundations. And I think that allowed us to propel forward. And then we did have the opportunity to go on a trip to Costa Rica, and that was an opportunity for us to bring in our freshmen, our 2 freshmen coming in and get to know them a little bit better, get them comfortable, play a couple games, have a good time together, and really just build that off the court connection, which has led us to having so many opportunities. But I do think it started last year and has continued to climb throughout the rest of this year.
Well, let's go to the end of the regular season and to the start of that tournament. You all are in the 1 seed, and it's let's win one game, and then everyone's going to come to us. You all get matched up with 8 seeded Ashland, which I think um, Ashland's history and all of this, and they've hosted this tournament for a long time. There's no cakewalk, whether it's a 1 versus 8 or a 4 versus 5 matchup in our tournament. um, a close game for you all for all intents and purposes, but you all pull that one off and get the opportunity to host. What does having those close games towards the end of the season, or being tested day in and day out in the GMAC, what can you all take and learn from that when you get into postseason play like this? And it really is kind of that winner go home mentality.
I think it's really important. Obviously, we won the league a little bit earlier. I think at the end of February, we found out that we won the league. And I think knowing that we kind of had that target on our back, like everyone wants to knock off this team, and making sure we didn't let that happen and just fighting through that was really important and really critical because we had a really tough game at home against Cedarville where we got down and we continued to fight back. And I think that showed our resiliency, and obviously Ashland being an 8 seed just shows how deep this league is. I mean, you knew they were gonna come in, they've been experienced. Like you said, they've hosted the tournament many times, they're well coached, they're well-rounded, and they play super hard, so we knew it was gonna be a dogfight, and thankfully being put in other positions throughout the year with other good teams, it's allowed us to be prepared for those moments and just stick together. The kickbacks and team bonding we do allows us to be able to have each other's back and fight through those moments together.
You win that game. Obviously, the semifinals and the finals come up to Midland. You're matched up against the 4 seed in Walsh. Get out to a pretty big lead there at halftime, and then the Cavaliers start kind of fighting back there at the end and tried to make things really interesting. I think they got it down to almost a single digit game there in the late in the third, early in the fourth. Being tested again like that, headed into a championship in a situation where you all are trying to make school history. What are those conversations like after that Walsh game, heading into a championship game against a Malone team that is going to give and bring all that they've got to try and get the title, and maybe steal that bid away?
Yeah, definitely. We had a lot of conversations about just being who we are. We try to shorten it down into medias. Each media, make sure we're holding teams under 15 points throughout the quarter and trying to reach those goals. And then we also have like game goals. So making sure like, hey, we didn't reach some of those goals against Walsh, and that's not going to fly against Malone in a championship game. Like, we have to make the adjustments to make sure that that doesn't happen. Otherwise, we're going to go home sad.
Well, I know it was spring break when all of this happened, so the students, unfortunately, there weren't as many of them there for to see you guys in person. But what has the conversation been like? I know that the people aren't back on campus necessarily, but I'm sure there's been social media and things like that. What has it been like since you guys have won the GMAC, and what has everyone been saying? And just how does it feel to be a part of such a historic team and get the opportunity to wear that trophy proudly, and the championship hats and t-shirts that you guys were able to get?
Yeah, it's really cool. The talks after, honestly, again, it's just a super supportive community. We are a smaller school, so probably 80% of our student body plays the sport. And even I'm in the master's program right now. After like there was texts in that group chat like congratulating us, and even on social media, people are consistently reposting or commenting or texting us individually like congratulations. And that's honestly why a lot of people here chose to come to Northwood, is just that camaraderie. It's not just on your team, it's the school camaraderie, it's the school spirit. So that has been super awesome, and like you said, they obviously weren't there at the championship game. They're kind of like our sixth man, just helping us win some games. But I mean, it's been really awesome. It's super cool to be a part of this team, but I mean, hopefully we're not done yet, so.
Well, you got to kind of take a deep breath on Sunday night. You knew you were going to see your name up there, maybe not knowing exactly where you're at. Things kind of stayed status quo from the last regional rankings that came out. You guys are matched up against Malone once again. Always breaks our heart at the conference office when our two teams have to play each other. But I think it makes for a really interesting thing, because this will be another opportunity. You guys are, I know, very familiar with Malone, and they're very familiar with you. And anytime you have to play teams 3, 4, 5 times in a season, there's not a lot of element of surprise left. There's not a whole lot that you can trick them with. What have the conversations been like, leading up to tomorrow's matchup with such a familiar foe?
Definitely. We've talked a lot about like staying true to us and like being who we are and playing our game. We think they're obviously going to throw some different things at us, and just like staying prepared for that and knowing that different things are going to come. And I mean, you got a week to prepare, but we just played each other last week. So like you said, you kind of know everybody's tendencies, you know how everybody plays. So just staying true to who we are, trying to make sure that we win the dogfight, because it's going to be a dogfight.
Well, you've talked a lot about the off court chemistry with this team. Can you tell me what it's been like this year to experience the success that you guys have been able to experience with the group of girls, and with, Coach Hunter and your coaching staff, and just everything that has gone into the work that you all have put forth so far this season, and just what it means to be on another road trip with your team, and hanging out in the hotel and doing all the things that I think make college basketball so special?
Yeah, definitely. We've had a lot of like crazy trips this year. We finally got Texas Roadhouse, and I mean, that was one of the funniest team dinners I've ever been a part of. Every single person was laughing, having so much fun. The coaches and even our trainer Tim. And that's just something that obviously you don't want to take for granted, especially in your senior year. But even this road trip, we're talking about getting a euchre tournament going right now, and we got the coaches involved, and everyone's got a partner. So we're just really enjoying that. We're competitive, but we also make sure that it stays light outside of the gym, because if you're tense all the time, it's not going to be successful. So making sure we're loose at the right times, but we're also locked in when we need to be. So.
Well, Maeve, you've had quite the season personally. The school's first ever Player of the Year when you were named G-MAC Women's Player of the Year last week, and then today, I don't know if you've seen it or not, but you were just named the Midwest Region Player of the Year, also of a first for Northwood. I know this is a team sport, but how do you use some of your personal success to help lead this team? I know as an upperclassman, it's just part of the job. But what has it been like, being a part of all of this, and doing and having some of that leadership role?
Yeah, definitely. I think it's really great. We obviously have great leaders on our team, and I think with our other captains, Ella and Coley, I mean, they balance each other out, and they balance me out, and they just continue to hold me accountable. The coaches, we have weekly leadership meetings, and just making sure that like we're staying on the right task, because none of those individual awards would happen without the team accolades, without us doing well. If you're on an unsuccessful team, you're not going to get any individual awards. So making sure that we're on the right page week by week, making sure that we're checking in with the people we need to be checking in with, and really just having each other's back. I think that's one thing that a lot of other cultures take for granted, and I think we make sure to practice our gratitude with that, is that we do have each other's backs and that we are truly there for each other. I mean, every single birthday, we're throwing somebody a birthday party. We're having cake and ice cream, and every single person shows up to those every single time there's a birthday, because you truly do. It's your home away from home. You have to celebrate each other and you have to have each other's backs. And I just think our leadership and our coaches have done a really good job with that. But also, it's 1 through 20. Every single person shows up. I'm sure on some of those birthdays they don't want to come over. It's sometimes at 9 o'clock at night. People are kind of winding down for bed, so it's one of those things where they continue to show up and we continue to have each other's back no matter what the circumstances are.
Well, Maeve, congratulations on everything that you've been able to accomplish personally, but also, we're excited to see Northwood and their success at the women's basketball level. We're excited for tomorrow. We know that a GMAC team's going to win. We know that someone's going to advance. But we are excited to see where this season takes you all, and best of luck tomorrow. And we hope there's a GMAC women's team playing for a long time over the weekend.
Thank you.
We'd like to welcome in Northwood women's head basketball coach Autumn Hunter to the program. Autumn, congratulations on the program's first ever women's basketball tournament title. A lot of history for you guys over the last couple of weeks, and hopefully still more to come, but we appreciate you jumping on today to talk a little bit about Timberwolves basketball.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me. This is amazing.
Well, I want to go back to the regular season and some question marks as to what the women's side of the league would look like. And I think pretty early on, you all established yourselves as one of the top teams in the league. And your regular season record certainly shows that there was success to be had there. But can you walk us through, and we talked to Maeve a little bit earlier, and she attributed a lot of this success to just the camaraderie and some of the closeness of the team, and the fact that you've gotten to keep some of that team together from last year and some of the success that you saw then, that it was all almost really carryover from the summer, that they were able to get everybody together. But when you look back on the regular season and what you guys were able to accomplish, at what point maybe did you kind of come to the realization that this team might be able to do something pretty special? And what were some of those conversations like during the regular season, when maybe you were starting to get into some uncharted territory with the option and the hope that you might be able to host and win the regular season title?
Yeah, it's interesting that Maeve mentioned that, because that's something I would definitely talk about. We lost no one to the transfer portal. So just graduation, that was it. And obviously we did lose, Maddie Volker, who was an amazing scorer for us, and then Reagan Launger and Ava Mushong, who were great captains and team leaders for us. This whole process has taken time. This is my 5th year as the head coach. So just building a culture and a community of Northwood women's basketball that means so much more than just all the accolades we're going to talk about and all the success we're going to talk about. And it's deeply rooted into that. So it's taken time. So to pick an exact moment is really tough. But the fact that we returned everyone from last season with a kind of that bitter taste in our mouth when we lost at Ashland in the GMAC tournament, just because we had beaten them in the regular season. So the potential was super high last year. We just had a lot of highs and lows. So going into this postseason, last year's postseason, our girls were really determined, really locked in. There were talks of winning the GMAC all the way back then. So I think the root of it happening over the course of the last 5 years, but I would say last year's postseason was definitely the point of like, hey, like this team could be something special. There's a lot of talent. There's a lot of, people who really understand Northwood basketball. They've been through it. They get what it means to be, selfless, and that's one of our core values. And this group has really bought into the 1 through 20 mentality. So our whole program matters. And I think that's really what made the turning point for us, I would say, last postseason as well.
Well, when you talk about this being your 5th season and all that you all have been able to accomplish, and maybe the growth that has happened with the Timberwolves program under your direction, when you are able to win the program's first ever tournament title, there's all these accolades I know that you talk about, and I think that's what everybody hangs their hat on, or that's the outside noise that everyone sees. What is it for you about this team that has been maybe different or special, and has led you all to maybe the success that you've seen thus far?
I think actually, I don't think I know. This team legitimately cares more about everyone else's success on our team than their own. Like, you can sit here and have conversations with Maeve St. John and all the player of the years that we now know that she's accomplished, and the first team all conference, everything. Leah Holmes having all these high accolades. Those two care more about everyone else's successes than their own. And I truly mean that when I say that. And every single person on our team would say the same thing. So I think that's a huge root to our success, is just they care more about the team success than they do their own individual success. It isn't, who scored this many points, who got this much playing time. There's a lot of things that we've had to build around that within our culture to, shout out and give credit and talk about, someone who didn't even step on the floor but had a private conversation with Leah in the hotel room saying, like, hey, you need to figure this out because we need you, and those type of players are the people on our team that win us championships or get us to the point we're at. It has so much more to do than just who scores the most points. It has everything to do with what's happening outside of practice, what's happening outside of the locker room, what's happening inside the locker room when coaches aren't there. So to see our girls buy into that and actually, show up for each other is what has brought us to this point.
Well, when you get to the end of the regular season, you win the one game, your quarterfinal game as the 1 seed, and you know that the tournament is coming to you. Matched up against Ashland once again as the 8 seed, and I think that just speaks to maybe the depth of the women's side this time. You've got the team that has hosted this tournament since they have joined the league, now at that 8 seed. But, they tested you all, I think, and that was a close game. It was a great tournament atmosphere. It was a great game. I know there were a lot of students there right before they headed home for spring break. But, when you get into a tournament setting like this where you're seeing repeat opponents for maybe the third time or whatever it might be, how does that mentality change, or does it? And how do you prepare for some of those games, especially maybe that Ashland game, knowing that you wanted the opportunity to continue to play at home?
Yeah, and you hit the nail on the head. I mean, us being the 1 seed and Ashland being the 8 seed this season speaks so highly of the GMAC, 1 through 8, even teams that didn't make it. I mean, our conference is strong. Women's basketball is a force to be reckoned with in the GMAC, and I think that was shown. We knew that was going to be a battle of a game. We knew we beat them twice in the regular season. Obviously, being home was a huge advantage to us. We had a ton of people show up. The student section that was there, the community members, I mean, anyone from professors to administrators to parents to family, we had that place rocking. I knew if it was going to have to, lean one way or another, and we had that, sixth man of a crowd, it helped us a lot. Ashland is a phenomenal basketball team. They're a phenomenal program. So we knew it was going to be a battle, and I was really proud of our girls pulling it out.
When you get that win on Tuesday, you know that there's 3 teams headed your way, and you're going to be matched up against Walsh. And I go back to that game, and you guys jumped out to a really early lead there, and then the Cavs didn't go away. I mean, they tried to make it they tried to make it really interesting there at the end, and another bit of a test for your team heading into that championship game. How important sometimes is some of that adversity, even in game, when you get into the postseason, and you knew that you likely doing well would end up in the Midwest Regional, but things can move and shake, and you want a good seed, and you want to be able to be on the right side of the bracket and X, Y, and Z. What did that Walsh game? Maeve spoke to a little bit about some of the in-game goals that you all have, that the conversations afterwards were, hey, like, we didn't really reach some of those goals. Like, we can't do that against Malone, or we may see this championship kind of fall out of our hands. What are some of those conversations like? And as kind of the head of this program, what do you hear those girls talking about that maybe helped you all prepare for that Malone game?
For sure. I mean, for Walsh in particular, matchup wise, like X's and O's basketball wise, it's not a great matchup for us. I mean, they are long, athletic, fast. They basically have 5 guards on the floor at all times. Where obviously, if you've watched us play, we have 2 back to the basketball players that are out there at the same time. So matchup wise, it's nerve wracking. As a coach, I'm never going to tell my players that, but I know that that we're going to have to do some things different defensively to be able to contain them. And I thought we did a great job of that in the first half. Third quarter, credit to them. They came out lights ablazing. They tore our zone apart. There were a lot of things that we had to make in-game adjustments on that I was proud of our girls of. But I know a big key of ours for Walsh in particular was holding them to 15 points or less per quarter. So obviously we did not do that in the third quarter. So making sure that we keep some of those goals going into the NCAA tournament this week, but specifically for Malone, because we know they can score a lot of points in a hurry as well. So we haven't had a ton of issues of scoring this season because we have a lot of scoring threats. So having that mental focus on the defensive end of the floor, just making sure if we can keep teams to, we always say 15 points or less per quarter, it's going to help us have a great chance at winning games.
Well, a perfect segue, because I have to now talk about Malone, and you obviously saw them in the championship. And unfortunately for us at the G-MAC office, we always hate when you guys have to play each other again in the postseason. But it is part of just how the cookie crumbles sometimes. But you're going to see Malone twice in the span of about 2 weeks, I guess, per se. And you know, at some point, it's probably from a scout situation, like there's not a whole lot that either of you are going to be able to throw at the other one that you haven't kind of seen, and some of the tendencies that each of your players have. So as a head coach and going into a situation like this where there's so much history that's been behind all of this and winning the tournament championship and the regular season and all the accolades with Maeve and the player of the year, all the things that we've talked about. What is the conversation like with the team when you are going into somewhat unfamiliar territory, but you're playing somebody that you're very, very familiar with? So what have those conversations been like, and how do you prepare to see Malone again?
Yeah, it's always a double-edged sword. So obviously you'd love to play someone new in the NCAA tournament. You want it to have a NCAA tournament feel where you're playing a new team. But at the same time, both teams pretty much know the scout. So at this point, I think us and Malone know each other's tendencies more than anyone in the country. So it's going to be a matter of honing down, hey, we know what they are capable of. They know what we are capable of. Who's going to be the team that comes out and plays harder? I hate to say it, makes more shots, is, more energy, more communicative. There's so many things that go into above skill set that we're going to have to attack harder than them. Because yes, they know 1 through 20 of us what we're capable of, what we like to do, what we're comfortable doing, and they're going to do their best to make us uncomfortable. So how are we going to be resilient and fight through some of that stuff? And it's going to be the same thing for them. So at the same time, it's exciting because we do know the scout and they know the scout, but it would be, like you said, nice to maybe play somebody new. But as we head in, I mean, we're the only 2 teams from the G-MAC, so hopefully we can make it a super entertaining game and fun to watch.
Well, off the court, when you get an extra travel trip, an extra weekend to play with this team, what does that mean as a head coach of this program? I know the sentiment sort of changes when you get into the regional tournament, because it really truly is a win or go home situation, and you do everything you can to extend your season as long as possible, but you know that at some point it might end, and it might end sooner than you want it to. So to be able to be in the hotel, Maeve had talked about there's maybe a euchre tournament that you guys are getting started, and just some other things that you all have been able to do, a lot of team bonding. And I know as it gets to the end, for at least for a lot of the seniors, like it can be somewhat emotional. But what is the opportunity to just spend time with these girls outside of basketball per se? What is that like, and how special are these opportunities and these moments to travel to the postseason?
This group is special. I've said this from the beginning of the season. They genuinely enjoy each other's presence. The euchre tournament, I think I'm missing it coming up here. I'm gonna have to get out to get on it. But it started out really small. They've branched out. They've taught each other how to play. On the road, they're genuinely together all the time. At dinners, breakfast, lunches, we have a no cell phone rule. So when they're at dinner or lunch, they enjoy each other's company. They talk to each other, and just the genuine conversations that we hear and we see with this group is just really special. We always have teams that are close. We always have teams that enjoy each other, but this group, like, genuinely, they love each other. Like, they love to be around each other. They love to, even just outside of their rooms, go do stuff, go for a walk to get some coffee. They spend a lot of time together, and I'm just so excited that they get to continue that with this specific group, just because of how fun they are to be around, for them to enjoy each other's company. It's really cool to watch as a coach.
Well, I would be remiss if I didn't ask you a little bit about Maeve St. John and what she's been able to bring to this team over the last few years, and especially, I think, really having a breakout year this year. I think we all knew who she was, but this year seems like the dial just turned up just a little bit. She was obviously named GMAC Player of the Year, and then earlier today named Midwest Region Player of the Year. And I know there's a lot that goes into the success. And when I asked her about it, she said there's no way she would have been able to do any of that without all of her other teammates. So certainly selfless in that way. But what can you say as her head coach about what she's been able to do on and off the?
We knew when Maeve came to Northwood, she was a special player. We knew what her skill set was. We knew she was going to do amazing things in our conference. But the beginning of the season, we sat down in my office and I said, "Hey, like, we want to make you GMAC Player of the Year. Like, I think that's something you can do. I think that's something you've raised to a standard of this season." And she said, "Yeah, I want to do it." And I said, "Okay, well, we're going to do whatever we can to make that happen." A credit to her. She's gone above and beyond, even just as being a teammate, as being a leader. You talk about all her crazy stats, what she leads every statistical category in, is remarkable. But for me, it's the off the court stuff. I mean, she is there for a player that may not even step on the floor, or a player who starts by her side, and she's willing to have tough conversations with them. She's willing to take them out to lunch. She's willing to, be with them as their euchre partner because they need help. And I think that speaks truly testament to who she is, not only as a basketball player, but as a person and a teammate. And I think that is what's helped her get to where she is, just because of the person that she is.
I also want to ask you about Leah Holmes. She was your tournament MVP, and I think had a great tournament run alongside your other great players, and especially in Maeve as well. But what does somebody like Leah bring to the table when you get into the postseason like this?
She's what we call a unicorn. She's one of those post players that it's an impossible matchup, because if you try to guard her in the post, she can, just old school drop step score. If she reverse pivots, she has craftiness around the rim. If she catches it at the free throw line, she can hit a 15-foot jump shot. She also can take you off the bounce. And she's really expanded her game outside the 3-point line this year. I mean, she's hit a couple threes in games this season, just to where you have to come out and guard her just enough. And she's quick enough to take you off the bounce. And then that's not even talking about her defensive presence. I mean, her ability to block shots at the rim, her containment of quicker defenders defensively. She does a little bit of everything. And I think that a lot of that stuff kind of goes unnoticed with her point totals and stuff like that. But her ability to defend, her ability to explore her craft and get better as the seasons progress. I mean, last year she was freshman of the year, and this year to be first team all conference is always a hard balance. Coming back your sophomore year is not easy. And I think she's gone above and beyond to expand her game. And we're super excited to have her.
Well, Autumn, what has been your favorite part of this year? And maybe it's just a culmination of a lot of things, or maybe there's a specific moment. But I know when it comes to historic years, it may take you some time of reflection to really be able to take it all in. But if I were to ask you today, what has been your favorite part of coaching this year?
Yeah, they always say the regular season championship is so much harder, and it is, right? Winning the regular season is really, really tough. But there's something about that, like, championship tournament atmosphere, and the championship game against Malone when we won, just to see our whole support system come on the court, cut down nets, take pictures with the trophies. I kind of just looked around and was like, I don't want to leave. I just want to stay here and soak up this memory forever. I was so happy to see the joy on every single one of our players' faces, our admins' faces, our trainers' faces, our strength coach faces, all of it, parents, family, friends. There was just so many people there supporting us in our program, and that's a moment I definitely will never forget.
Well, it was certainly a special place to be last Saturday, and we appreciate all that you and your admin staff did to host that tournament for us. And certainly congratulations once again on that regular season and tournament title. As you said, that's not easy to do sometimes. And we're wishing you all the best of luck the rest of the way. We hope there's a GMAC team playing for a long time in the Midwest Regional. So, Autumn, we appreciate your time today. And like I said, best of luck tomorrow.
Thank you, Katie.